Ikati? Yeah.
Na ba ba botse ba go tswa kgole le gauswi ke re modimo le hono o re etletse ba ra amogelang baeng le ya tlo amogela le mangoloi ka se sebaka na ka re ka rata go opela ke be ke duma gore re no mo opelela modimo a kore le hono re thabile re ingwa ka le komane ka magetleng re sohla khabane re nwa metsa mogako re a itokonya re na le baeng taba ya go swana le e a thoma re tshepa gore ke mathomo mayo re tshepa gore ke se skilego ga se tlo ema ke tshepa gore re tlo tswela pele
magoshiaka ba ba mpushago baeng ba go tswa kgole le kgauswi well wishers, ladies and gentlemen, ke a le tamisha ke nna phahla mnare wa mphele wa ngwamrei Thulare, who was our majesty, who was very young, who met his untimely death, and we say may his soul rest in peace. We still expected a lot out of him as our very young senior traditional leader who had vision powers to appoint king and acting kings, to appoint with a certificate of recognition.
Bapedi Nation. It's not just any kind of a day, it's an event where the Bapedi Nation are writing a history today. Now, I'm also standing here this afternoon as an executive director from Implat's Board of Directors, responsible for social labor plans. So all the Implat's mines, including the ones in Limpopo, we are the one responsible for writing the documentation of the SLP. And it's such an honor really to come and be part of the Bapedi Nation Celebration Week. So I am not here as a doctor, as a chief, but I'm here as a son to also come and serve to Bapedi Nation. That is why when they sent an invitation for us to come here, I said, I will definitely come and attend the function. Certainly, just tomorrow morning, I will have to go back to Rustenburg, but I've had an awesome time ever since from Monday we were here. I am requested to come and talk about a little brief of how we are building sustainable corporate services in terms of how we conduct our tribal proceedings in the Northwest. Now, I'm just going to take 3 minutes to say, as the Royal Bapedi Nation, we do have what we call the Vision Plan 2035. The Vision Plan 2035, we focus on 3 key elements. Number 1, our King, Kgosi Kgolo ya rona, Kgosi Leruo Molutlehi, who is the current King of the Royal Bapedi Nation, announced in 2002 that as the nation, we need to start to prioritize the 3 key things. Number 1, as the nation, we believe in individual development, where we also encourage all the chiefs, which we refer to the Khosana in our area in the Northwest, to also go to school and also come up with a succession plan of all their sons that needs to take over from their fathers, to make sure that we prepare them for the chieftaincy that they would need to take. I am 28 years of age now. I took over the chieftaincy when I was 16 years after my father died. So this year, it recorded my 10th year. I've been the chief of the Royal Bapedi Nation. And the most challenging thing, and I would want to encourage the Kgosi tsa rona ba balemo, it's so important to invest on the people, on your sons that needs to take over the chieftaincy. So as the nation, one key priority thing, we focus on making sure that we capacitate all the young chiefs that needs to take over from their fathers. Just last year, we developed a policy as the nation that when you turn 60 years, we request you to step down and become sort of an advisory member and let your son take over while you are still alive, to avoid the issues that when you die, Borangwane will come and start with their own things. So we took a policy last year to say when you turn 60, you do step down, you become an advisor and let the son take over. And that's how my whole life I grew up in Joburg. I never imagined myself moving back to the village of Titing and taking over the chieftaincy, because all I wanted to do was to become a doctor. So I said to my uncles, they could have told me before I went to vets to study medicine, and maybe begin saying, and I know I will be sorted. But I'm grateful for that opportunity that they waited for me after 8 years completing my doctorate. They say you cannot go and practice, you need to come and become a chief. So I had to go back home and serve. And I'm telling you, it has been the best time of my life. Wow. I love doing it with all of my heart. Now, when I took over the chieftaincy in 2011, in 2011, I had to introduce the new system in the village. The world is influenced by 7 mountains. And that's how I had to sit and take the Vision 2035 to bring it to the level of the community and say, how do I now lead this village to the 2nd level? Now, just in short, one key thing that separates us from all other tribal leadership, as the nation, as the Royal Bapedi Nation, we don't depend on government. We have built our own schools, we have built our own clinics, we are still developing our own infrastructure, because our vision was clear to say we want to become a nation which is known as relevant and innovative traditional community in a changing world. So we don't only cling to culture, we evolve with culture, but we don't forget the roots of where we are coming from, because that's how we define ourselves. So even though I'm a doctor, I cannot at all times come and try bring the Western things into the tribal proceedings of the college. I still need to maintain, it's my responsibility to make sure that that culture is still maintained. So key element number 1 out of the 7, it's family. So this is how I have structured my executive committee. I was requested just to share briefly about it. So in my executive committee, I only have 7 people. So there, I'm the 8th person. So that I call the council of Khotlayara Kudu in Tsitsi. So it's only 8 of us. And we do have the elders, which we refer to as Banna Khotla, Bomma Khotla, who would assist us in making sure they are able to come and assist us. So number 1 person that is responsible for the department number 1, it's family. So under family, we do have what we call the public service management. So in terms of the public safe management, we do have our own IDP that is developed at the Khotla level, at the tribal Khotla level. So municipality, they know in Rustenburg, and I normally say to them, there must be a difference between Sekhukhune Tribal Authority and Sekhukhune Municipality. There must be a difference. These 2 entities, they are different. Sekhukhune Municipality cannot come to the Sekhukhune Tribal Village and say, this is what we want to do. They cannot do such a thing. In Northwest, that's not how it's done. We develop our own integrated development plan. And when the municipality comes in terms of their duties, they only need to implement that which we are saying should be implemented. We know the issue of the roads and the lights, and that is their key responsibility. But when it comes to other issues, they don't partake in such things. That is why we also have our own traditional councillors, and we have the political councillors within the Northwest. So on the public service management, that's the duty. We do have, on this item, I'm only going to emphasize on the land use management. As the Royal Bapedi Nation, we don't have squatter camps. And we are 72 chiefs, which says to me we own 70% of the land in the Northwest Province as the Royal Bapedi Nation. And in terms of the land use management, we have developed a policy, number 1, to say we don't give a land to anyone who is not married. That's number 1. Number 2, we only give you land if you are 40 years and above. Number 3, we don't give you a land if you are a non-Mufukeng. So you need to be a Mufukeng for you to get the benefits of the Mufukengs. And to this stage, it's a culture that we pride ourselves in. That there's no one who can wake up in the morning. We've got a lot of mines in Northwest, but there's no squatter camps in the Royal Bapedi villages to this date. Because we've got policies that are not just a document, but those are a living document. And we make sure that we implement it. So in terms of the land use management, that's how we preserve our land. So we don't just get excited when investors come and say, we would want to come and open the mine. No, that does not excite us. We've got the Vision Plan 2035 to say 30% of this region, we want agro-processing and farming project. That's a clear vision. Even when you can come and get gold in that, we are not after gold. We've got a vision, and the vision is clear, and we don't divert from the vision. And I want to encourage all the tribal authorities that are here. You don't have to indulge in anything. Sometimes you need to say no. It's not relevant in this leadership. Sometimes you have to decline certain proposals, because we're not going to run around with all the people that are approaching us to say we want to open a mall, we want to do this. No. Number 2, region. Number 1 was the family, number 2 is region. So in my village, when we've got a funeral, we don't say, when you get to the cemetery, it's not ZCC, it's not Christianity, it's a faith-based organization of the community that deals with the proceedings of the funeral. At home, you can practice your culture, your religion, and everything. But when you get to the cemetery, we've got a culture that all the faith-based pastors they are going to assist you to bury your beloved ones. It's not a church thing, it's a community thing. And to this day, we are still maintaining that. Number 3, it's business. We have what we call a Kotla enterprise development, where we have our own systems of how we create sustainable SMME development within our villages. I sit on the board for Impala, responsible for the health in the mines. And when tenders are advertised, I normally say to my village, we don't have to fight. We don't have to burn tires. We don't have to go on strikes. Because we are the community that is well informed, a community that we are able to come and sit like this and debate issues. I get so... there's no ministers here, so I'm going to make an example of one of the ministers in the government. I don't understand why when we've got ministers, our tribal authority stands up. I don't understand it. I always fight at the Northwest House of Traditional Leaders. When the Premier enters the room, why should we stand for him? Because he's going to be voted for 5 years. After 5 years, the second person must come. So that's the culture that we still need to practice. That government is not above the tribal authority. We have given them power. That is why they are doing what they are doing. But we need to retain that by not fighting them, but by building systems which are relevant, which will be able, when the premier or when the executive mayor is sitting in his or her office, they would want to say, we want to come and associate with that particular tribal authority. In conclusion, I think Patronage said to me, we would want to start and work with you, and I said, we are available to come and serve. One of the key priorities, which I said to her, to say, January, we need to come back to Limpopo. And the beginning of the year, the Minister of Higher Education approved the program which called the RPL, the Recognition of Prior Learning. It's not everyone in our villages that would want to become doctors like ourselves. It's not everyone in our villages that would want to go to the formal education. Some people, they are good with their cultural, with developing products. They are good with developing material that will build the tents and all that technical skills. So RPL stands for Recognition of Prior Learning. And I said to her, it's one thing that we need to come and pilot in Limpopo. To say we need to start to look at the people that are good in building. Those are people that did not go to school, but they've got a skill of building. So the department is saying, let's recognize that skill and we give them a recognition certificate for their skill. So that when you go to NHBRC and all of those big entities within your industry, you are also relevant and you are able to be assisted because you are qualified, you've got compliance documents. So in conclusion, I would love to say, education is not preparation for life. It is life itself. When you stop learning, that's when you start becoming irrelevant. And that's when your community will start also becoming irrelevant. So let's take education as something that we cannot visit. But let's take education as something that we practice it as a culture. And I'm excited that we will be coming back to Limpopo. We are coming to serve, to make sure that we've got tangible evidence of saying this is what we have developed. So next year when we have this commemoration, we need SMMEs who will fund this event, who would say you pledge 5% of your profits and you make sure that these events become bigger than this one. And it is possible. That's why January will be coming back here and we are coming to serve, to make sure that Sekhukhune tribal leadership, it goes to another level, not just to grow, it grow with relevancy and innovative.
We acknowledge you. We know that our program started late and therefore there are some people that are hungry. So we will read your names one by one at the end of the program. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. My name is Basama Shobo. I'm the CEO of Affluence 12. Our company is a consulting company in 12 sectors. in the sectors where we believe black people are not participating or are not benefiting meaningfully. I'm not going to talk much about that because I think in the media briefing we've said a mouthful. But the most important thing that I want to say today is my fathers and mothers, my brothers and sisters, there is no one who's coming to save us. If there is a time for saving ourselves, is now. If there's a time for saving ourselves, is now. Yes, here in Sekhukhune, or here in Beresford, we have about 32 mines. And every day when I engage with the young people or engage and they tell me, Marabasa, the mine are benefit, the mine we are not doing this. But and then I tell them that I'm like, but you eat every day. You wear every day. There are so many things that we do every day that we take for granted. So our work as Affluence 12 is to ensure and to assist Makhosi and their communities to create their own secondary economy. We need, as the people of the Bapedi Kingdom, to wear the Bapedi outfits that were sewn by mothers here at Bapedi only. But the material all manufacturing mo Bapedi. Today we are having water here in this event. The water supply can be from Sekhukhune, but I bet you the water bottle was never manufactured in Sekhukhune. How many gatherings do we attend each and every week? And so many of the products that we use in those gatherings are not manufactured in Sekhukhune or in Bapedi. So I want us to think about the legacy that we want to create, not only for us, but our great-great-children. Because the Rakabakadi project, Mara project is just going to benefit me as Basa and my family to provide our comfortable lifestyle for today, for 1 year, for 2 years. And then what happens after that? It cannot be that this place is so rich, but its people are so poor. So I want to encourage all the kingdoms that are attending this event today that let's be the ones that want to create. We need to be the creators as African people. I said a mouthful about all the products that are coming from Limpopo that are taken out of Africa and come back as processed products that we, the people of Limpopo, cannot afford. It cannot be like that. So I don't want to take much of your time, but as Affluence 12, that is our mandate. We want to work together with the Khoshis and the Makhoshis and their communities to ensure that we create our own secondary economy and we leave a lasting legacy for our young ones and our generations to come.
I'm the former African Union ambassador to the United States. During my tenure, my mandate included mobilizing the African diaspora from all over the world, not just continental Africans, but also African Americans, Afro-Latinos, Afro-Caribbeans, all people of African descent, to come together, to unite, and participate in the building of the Africa that we want. we must be very clear as we embark on this journey of retaking our Africa back to where Africa once was. I'm talking about the Africa that was the center of the world. I'm talking about the Africa that taught us what it means, we as humanity in general, regardless of our color, what it means to be human, what it means to be civilized. I'm talking about an Africa that once was the center of the earth. The question then becomes, my brothers and sisters, what is ailing the Bapedi Kingdom? What is ailing the Limpopo? What is ailing South Africa? What is ailing Africa? How did we get here? And as we move on this journey, we must understand the genesis of where, no matter where you meet us as a people, we are the most endangered species on earth. Be it black people in South America, go to their communities. What ails them also ails us here in Africa. Black people in America, black people in the Caribbean, the world has put a system in place to see to it, no matter where we are as people of African descent, we are subjected to the same pressures that is always going to be difficult for us to find ourselves having a leg up. I'm talking about the world's financial systems that were created in the 1940s with the sheer understanding that their success is based on the failures of developing nations. Of course, the majority are in Africa. I'm talking of world trade systems that were put in place to make sure that Africa will continue to be the provider of raw materials in order to create jobs for the Western world. I'm talking about the colonizers from the West, who, as they were giving us the liberation of our countries in the 60s, late 50s into the 60s, they simply gave us fake independence, made us believe that we are now free. But what they never gave us, which was really what really matters the most, was economic liberation. The multinationals that existed in all of Africa prior to liberation, they have never left our beloved continent. So it is the multinationals from colonization continue to be in Africa to do so. In actuality, Africa remains under economic colonization. We must understand that those multinationals continue to siphon trillions out of Africa every day, beginning with right here in Limpopo. We have our people surrounded by all these mines. Where is that money going? As we speak today, 75% of all the minerals traded at the London Stock Exchange are coming from Africa. And none of them are owned by us, Africans. That includes minerals coming from your region, right here where we are standing. You fail to benefit from what belongs to you simply because of the policies that were put in place back yonder. The question is, where do we go from here? What I find most disturbing is the fact that we as Africans, we don't understand the fundamentals of what has been done to us. Allow me to highlight a few areas that I think if we are to understand why this ailing African tree of life cannot come back to life. Let's look at the issues above the ground on this tree, which are the issues they want us to focus on, and they never want us to look at the issues below the ground. The issues above the tree, above the ground, we're talking about poor access to healthcare, poor access to education, poor leadership, poor infrastructure. These are all the trees, the leaves, the branches, the fruits, the flowers of this tree that come and go from one season to the other. They want us to continue to be stuck on stupid, talking about those issues. The question is, why is it that we don't have enough funds to build better schools? Why is it that we don't have enough funds to build better roads? Why is it that our leadership is being sold to the highest bidder. Goes back to the issues of the root. Allow me to talk about issue number 1, which is pivotal for us to understand if Africa is going to move forward. If we are going to take a position right here in the Limpopo, in the Bapedi Kingdom, to do something about what is happening in our backyards. I'm talking about the issue of the mind. When the colonizers came to Africa centuries ago, they made some of the most amazing people on earth. People so powerful, with well-established religious systems, educational systems, people so strong that they didn't know how were we going to conquer such a people. So they sought out to defeat us where it matters the most, which is the mind. They sent missionaries to come to Africa and teach us about religion. They told us about a place called heaven, where there are angels, the most beautiful. Everybody wants to grow up to be an angel. And they said those angels are white. And they said there's a place called hell. And there is a devil, a monster that everybody needs to shy away from, the mean person. And that devil is black. And prior to that, we had gone to school. They taught us about the colors, white, blue, black, orange, yellow. But they picked up 2 colors, black and white. They gave attributes to the color white, and they gave attributes to the color black. And as an afterthought, they said, oh, by the way, those angels we told you about, they're white, just undesirable. That when you look at your own brother, you should be scared. That when you look at your own brother, you can't trust him because you see yourself as the devil. I mean, I don't know how many of you have seen the video of a 5-year-old little black boy. He was given 2 dolls. One was black and the other one was white. He was asked which doll was beautiful, he pointed at the white one. Which doll was ugly, he pointed at the black one. Which one was nice, he pointed at the white one. Which one is mean, he pointed at the black one. He was then asked, which one looked more like you? And reluctantly, he pointed at the black one. The 5-year-old is defeated before he even begins his life. No self-respecting mother, no self-respecting father, aunt, uncle, grandmother would have said that 5-year-old and told him that you're ugly because of the color of your skin, that you're mean because of the color of your skin. But because the subliminal messages are everywhere, he is born into a world that teaches him that you are inferior. My brothers and sisters, chiefs and kings, this is 2022. When are we going to denounce this lie? This lie is so powerful. The same 5-year-old boy is going to grow up to be the next minister. So when you ask this minister and say, Minister of Finance, you understand what the World Bank is doing, that the average African country is spending over 1/3 of their GDP on loan repayment. Some countries it's over 50%. And then the same people, they will ask you after they have stolen your lunch through the World Bank, why can't you make it? Because you're still making me pay loans that go back to apartheid. You're still making me pay loans with high interest rates when I've never defaulted on my loans. When countries that have defaulted on loans, they get better interest rates from the World Bank. Remember, the world financial systems were designed to see to it that Africa was forever defeated. So line number 1, We're talking about the 5-year-old boy who's going to grow up to be the next president of Africa, the next minister, the next CEO. When you go to the boardroom table, when you go to those meetings with a colonized mind, a mind that says, I'm already defeated, a mind that says, when you look in front of a white person, your knees buckle in, garbage out. The issue of the mind. Whether we like to face it or not, it is a serious problem for us, even here, more importantly, in South Africa, when you can see fellow South Africans looking negatively at other Africans from outside Africa. What is wrong with this picture? What are you thinking? Think of what the world went through to rescue South Africa. And yet we have too many of us who are so goddamn stupid and colonized that they can't see facts for what they are. When you cannot see something so simple, how then do you think we are going to come together and begin to deal with issues of the Bapedi Kingdom? How then do you begin to come together and deal with issues of the Limpopo, of South Africa? That 5-year-old boy who is just now grown, but still defeated where it matters the most. I call that issue number 1 of the issues below the ground. We must wake up as a people. We may not like each other as individuals, but when it comes to issues of the Bapedi Kingdom, we must stick together like super glue. When it comes to issues of South Africa, we must stick together like super glue. When it comes to issues of Africa, we must stick together like super glue, because, my brothers and sisters, that's what the rest of the world is doing. Ask for the voices. In my case, you talk about the United States. Ask for the voices of the Chinese diaspora, loud and clear. Voices of the Mexican diaspora, the Irish diaspora, the Jews, the German Americans, the Italians. Let's stick together like super glue. But when you ask for the voices of us Africans, you might as well go to the graveyard. We are missing in action. Until we address issue number 1, everything else that we try to do will not succeed. So those who try to tell you that South Africans are better than the rest of the Africans, stop right there. When you fall for that sort of thinking, remind yourself you're that 5-year-old little boy. And you have a responsibility as an individual to wake yourself up. Ask not what your neighbor has done, what your friend has done. The question is, what have you done? What have you done to wake yourself up so you can be a better citizen that can be part of a whole that's going to do what it takes to liberate our beloved kingdom of Bapedi, to liberate our region of the Limpopo. It starts with you, the mind. We then go on to other issues such as what the World Bank financial policies that are totally against the development of Africa. The World Trade Organization policies that are totally against the development of Africa. The useless, toothless bulldog, the United Nations, that's simply there to further their destructive agendas around the world. If you ever wondered, the 5-member UN Security Council is made up of some of the worst perpetrators of human rights abuses around the world. Does that even make sense? So why are they still there? The largest group of members of the United Nations are Africans. 1.4 billion people, 54 nations were not on the table. Why do we go to the United Nations? Have you thought about it? We go to the United Nations so we can vote on their issues. We don't go to the United Nations to vote on issues pertaining to Africa. Absolutely not. So that 5-year-old boy was grown up to be the president, was grown up to be the minister. They're just so happy that they got a visa to go to America. So whether they accomplish anything or not, it doesn't matter. We have no business going to the United Nations. There's nothing there for us. So until the 5-year-old boys can come together and take a position and say, until we are at the table, until 1.4 billion people have representation, we are not coming. World Bank has meetings twice a year, in May and in October. We all know, the ministers of finance know, that the frivolous loans that we are being made to pay, the policies they are pushing on us that are detrimental to the development of our countries. Why can't the ministers take a position and say, we've done an analysis of what we have paid so far. Our loans have been paid 1,000 times over. So as such, we are not going to pay you. You may say whatever you want to say about President Mugabe. But when we were having issues and the White World Bank was jumping in, they said, you print money. When you need money, so shall we. It is that bold leadership that is needed to speak truth to power. But some of you may not know. You see, the world runs on the US dollar. So when the US needs to pay its loans, guess what? They just print the money. Because they're the ones printing the money. They don't have to have the money, they just print more paper. But because you use a different paper, you gotta buy real dollars in order to pay your loans. The world is fucked up, I'm sorry, pardon my language. I need you all to understand how ridiculous this system is. World Trade Organization, I can share with you the story of cocoa out of West Africa. Over 60% of the world cocoa beans come from West Africa, up until a few years ago. If West Africa decided to add value to the cocoa beans, the tariff on the value-added products was so high that it wasn't even worth adding value to the cocoa. Why? How dare you try to take away my jobs? There is not a single cocoa plantation in Switzerland. And yet all over the world, Swiss chocolate, Swiss coffee. Why hasn't the World Trade Organization said, Switzerland, where are your cocoa fields? Where are your tea fields? And yet everything comes out with Switzerland. These are serious crimes that are being committed against Africa. But why aren't we coming together and say, you know what? We Africans, we love chocolate. We are going to make our own chocolates for African consumption. The problem is, we want to make the chocolates and send them to Europe. Why? So you can turn around and come through London and many other ports and buy these chocolates and bring them to your families. That's your chocolate, for heaven's sake. But we also are just as stupid, because we allow it to happen. We're just so happy that we're mixing with these Europeans. We should be glad that they invited us. They've all been called to come to America right now for the US-Africa Summit. Guess what, my brothers and sisters? Did you know there was no agenda? No. There was no agenda. Just come, so we can learn more from you, or now we can continue to exploit you even better. Do you think any of those leaders would leave their countries to go meet with another leader without an agenda? It happened during President Obama's administration. It's happening again now. At least you can give it to China and say, when China called on the African leaders, which again I have a problem with, one man wants to meet with the African leaders, and they all gotta go to Beijing. Why can't you come to the African Union? You're the one who wants what we have. Don't make it look like we're trying to help us. No, let's make no mistake about this. Africa does not need the world. The world needs Africa. But they make us believe that, oh, we are going there because they're going to help us. Well, this China made a simple agenda. We're going to talk about trade. We're going to talk about aid. We're going to talk about investment. Tell us your issues. Tell us what issue you're having with us. and we can try and meet each other halfway. It was a meaningful meeting with an agenda, expected outcomes, and delivery mechanisms, and follow-up. They're going there now, to the United States. There is no agenda. Why are we there? We're just glad that we got our 6-month visa, re-entry visa to the United States. Hallelujah. My brothers and sisters, yes, while we blame others who have sought out to destroy us, we too must own some of the blame. It starts with the mind. Next time you run into a South African who tries to tell you you're better than somebody from Nigeria. I was at the airport in Johannesburg one day, and 2 Zulu boys were talking, I could tell from their accent. And one says, when was the last time you were in Africa? And that one scratched his head, he said, 2 months ago. They were at the airport in Johannesburg. They didn't think they were in Africa. I was giving a lecture at NYU in New York City. And when I finished talking, this young man from Morocco, he got up and he says, but Ambassador, I'm from Morocco and I've always been told that I was from the Middle East. Now this is a master's student who is from Morocco, and he said he grew up being told he's Arabic from Middle East. I said, son, if I were to give you the map of Africa right now, where is Morocco? He said, in Africa. And I said, you very smart graduate student, you just figured it out, that Morocco is in Africa. I rest my case. Son, I just have to repeat it, you're African. A graduate student from Morocco had to be told that you're African. The disease is deep, and most of us in this room are suffering from it. We are not just at home sick. We are not in the medical clinic, waiting room of a doctor. We are not in the wards, general ward at the hospital. Instead, we are in the intensive care with this disease. And until you accept that you're sick, how do you go to look for help? I'm a medical doctor. If you don't come to me, there's no way I can help you. Let's accept that we are suffering from the legacy of colonization and we are in the intensive care. And each and every one of us needs to have a serious conversation with the image in the mirror. Why do I think the way I do? Why do I not trust my brother? We can very easily give thousands of dollars to those who don't look like us to invest, but we can't trust our brother with $1. It's a serious disease. So as we talk about what we can do with the natural resources right here in this kingdom, we had a beautiful presentation last night. I'm sorry I was tired. I kept dozing off, but I tried to pay attention and listen. It was an analysis of what is wrong with what's going on in our kingdom. We can't be surrounded. Thank you, my brother. We appreciate your presentation yesterday. We can't be surrounded by all these minerals, and yet we are poor. Something has got to give. We must hold accountable all these owners of these mines. They must honor their social corporate responsibility, and I'm sorry, 10% is not enough.
Yes.
At a minimum, 50%.
Yeah. Or 50.
Now, if you think about it, if all of you were to come together and unite and just stand your ground and say, that's it, pay up, Jack, or act. You don't even need the police. The Malawi people did a very good one time. This was about a Chinaman who beat up and killed a young Malawi boy, all because he asked for a gallon of petrol to put in his motorbike so he could go a kilometer away and come back and pay him. Not sure how that ended up with the boy being killed. So because the policemen get paid, the locals knew that nothing was going to happen. So they decided they were going to take care of it, because enough was enough. So when the police tried to come, they beat up the Chinaman and they killed him. When the police tried to come, they said, come on, bring it on, we're ready for you too. They had their machetes. So the police ran away. It was the previous president. Then the president was in his car, getting ready to go to that region, the head of the news, they also sent a message back, and Mr. President, come on over. We're waiting for you. So the president quickly got back into his palace and delivered a speech and said, you Chinese, you better treat my people right. So he addressed them from the comfort of his palace. We don't want to have to get to that level. But at what point are we going to say enough is enough? And I can tell you as a black woman, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's it, plain and simple. How long can they continue to abuse our children? How long can they continue to abuse our men? Well, if they want to see a mad black woman. The women in Liberia, when the war would not end, they said they were going to march naked until those men would meet and have meaningful meetings that will bring an end to the war. They also said activities of the bedroom are going to end. I don't know, some of you are true. This is a true story. Boyfriends, husbands, no activity in the bedroom until the war is over. Exactly 30 days the war was over. There are things we can do. Because sometimes trying to follow the rules, they ain't gonna work. We gotta do what we gotta do. But this BS, my apologies, I have got to use this language. Sometimes you gotta tell the folks like it is. This BS has got to stop. We're taking back our minerals. We can no longer continue to be poor when we're surrounded by riches. Unity of purpose is what this moment is calling for. I hope next time I come back, we'll find nice organizations in Bapedi Kingdom. People who are going to say, I may not like you as my neighbor, I may not like you as my brother or sister, but when it comes to the issues of Bapedi Kingdom, we are going to stick together like super glue. I'm looking forward to coming back to continue to have the conversations. This is an amazing kingdom. I've learned a lot. I was talking to my VP, by the way. I must introduce you to my team. My Vice President, Damien Cook, please stand up. He's an African American from Jacksonville, Florida. He's one who is awoken, one who has taken the journey, and one who is saying, I'm coming home. Welcome, my brother. Welcome back. Welcome back for sure. And then I have my naughty son. I only claim him when he's good. Philip Chabad. He is the Regional Director for African Diaspora Development Institute, SADC. We will be coming back. There is a project that we would like to discuss. My sister, where is she? Project we'd like to discuss. And that's how we're going to enter into ADD. And thanks to our VP, he said, Ambassador, we must come back. I see a lot of possibilities in this kingdom. I have my son, I just acquired him. I said, you must come to Zimbabwe. I don't know, some of you. You know, there's a study that was done that Zimbabwean wives make the best wives. So I'm going to get him a Zimbabwean wife. Now, I might get in trouble with my sisters. I'm going to crash over there. There you go. His testimony. Now we'll see where we're coming from, Zimbabwe. We had our honourable, he's an MP from the region that borders Limpopo with Zimbabwe. He's traveling with us. He was one of President Mugabe's security detail for 37 years. Wow. So he protected our president, and boy does he have a story to tell. He's writing his memoirs. We shall get to hear all about it. And of course, last but not least, my brother, Bishop, Reverend Mapoga. He said, ditch the bishop, ditch the reverend. Okay. The reason I respect him so much, you see, the Bible is a good book, and the Bible speaks the truth. But then those who read the Bible, they mistranslate it. We start with, why Jesus Christ? Come on now. Jesus Christ, what does the Bible say? Hair like wool, crimson skin. Is that how you describe what they call white person?
No.
When Mary and Joseph were running away from King Herod, where were they told to go? They were told to go to Egypt. Because if he looked like them, they would have sent him to Europe. But they knew in Europe he would stand out like a sore thumb. So said, go back where you belong, where you look like those that are there. So in fact, I would like to say, Jesus Christ, a black man, born in the Middle East, grew up in Egypt. May I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen, that Jesus Christ was the first African diaspora. But they don't want us to own him. They don't want us to own him. But we don't need to wait for them to tell us. Jesus Christ was black.
You know.
Even Reverend Billy Graham, he had a nice video where he says, Jesus Christ was not white, he didn't look like me. He said Jesus Christ was a dark-skinned man. The man who helped Jesus Christ was a black man.
Yes.
So stop lying to the world. That's exactly what Reverend Maponga is saying. He said, I've read the Bible. We are lying to the people. That has got to stop. But again, we need not wait for somebody to tell us. We are victims of the teachings and trainings of the missionaries when they first came to Africa. Teach them how to read, but not to reason. So you read the Bible and you talk about Jesus with crimson skin, hair like wool, you just bypass it. Why aren't you stopping and then going back to your pastor and say, what's up? What's wrong with this picture? Can you please take down that white Jesus, blue-haired and blonde-haired, a blue-eyed and blonde-haired Jesus? But you look around homes across Africa, churches across Africa, they have a blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus. What a lie. Doesn't that make you, all of you, feel stupid? Let's not continue to victimize ourselves. While we were taught how to read, we must also reason. I thank you.
Of Africa.